everybody, and welcome to the Wicked Bee of the West YouTube channel. My name is Dr. Stephanie Diana Eubank. I teach business administration over at Stan State, and I am the sole proprietor of Wicked Bee of the West um, Consulting and Business Consulting. So I wanted to bring up an interesting discussion I had with some colleagues, and especially what I've been having as conversations with my students. Some of my students are working professionals and are working on getting their bachelor's degree so they can make that next step in their business career. And one thing that I counsel to all of my students is while you're doing your business degree, utilize your experience in the classroom and projects you're doing towards getting those internships and jobs while you're in school versus waiting until after you're done with school, because generally by the time you're done with your bachelor's degree, you're already behind the curve as far as the level of experience you'll need in the business world. So always make sure that you're working with your university and with all of your contacts about internships, volunteer programs, things you can be doing while you're going to school as a way to build up that portfolio and that resume. Nonetheless, the concerning pattern that's emerged in these conversations is especially those who work remote and hybrid, and especially a lot of remote workers are now predominantly SMEs, as many companies, especially larger companies, are moving towards remote work just for SMEs and other specialists and trying to have hybrid or in-person overall as the pattern of the workforce, which is causing a lot of people to renegotiate, but that's neither here nor there. Nonetheless, the pattern that's emerging is how many managers are using on-camera policies as surveillance rather than support, which is very ick. Not only is that ick, but that is just screaming toxic and abusive leadership and is showing a lack of trust in their team rather than showing their ability to lead. And again, it's saying way more about those in leadership than it is about those who are doing the work. Remote work is very much a callback to traditional business where it's about the amount of work being done, not just the butts in the seats. But this also brings up some controversial concepts about in-person work, specifically appearance, whether it's via camera or in person, and women. So women, particularly in the workplace, whether we're in person or on camera, we are visually scrutinized way more and are having to deal with business cultures that create undue stress. And this is actually called Lookism, which manifests in both derogatory and unrealistic judgments. And it remains a passive issue, but can still be felt in the remote setting with abusive on camera policies. It doesn't matter whether what your appearance actually is, no matter how you look, facing these impossible beauty standards can affect how seriously you're taken in a professional role. And further, the research on appearance anxiety shows that women endure pressure to balance confidence and conformity, which again hinders our creativity as leaders and again makes the spotlight more about how we fit in to traditional roles versus breaking those molds and making our own path as trailblazers of our own. So again, there's a lot of ways that as leaders we can balance and foster comfort and trust within our workforce, and especially help support these female leaders and female workers within the business world. One of which is making camera use optional, not mandatory. And I'm not saying across the board, I'm saying like if you have a major meeting where you want to have that face to face, make sure you let them know ahead of time. 24 hours is not enough notice ahead of time, especially if you're the one to present. And speaking from someone who's had to do a lot of remote presentations, when you can turn the camera off often helps you expand your bandwidth and lowers any issues that Zoom or Teams may have because of the internet. It takes a lot more speed of your internet capability and your Wi-Fi when you have your camera on and a PowerPoint going, especially while operating Teams or Zoom. And God forbid if your kids are home from school, or or your family members are also working from home, or if you're single and have roommates. This can cause a lot of bandwidth issues. But again, making it optional, not mandatory, or making sure that you're notifying your teams ahead of time when you're planning to have meetings that are cameras on. And again, focus on content, not appearance. Evaluate performance based on contributions and ideas, not your look or attire. Especially with SMEs, and speaking as a SME or subject matter expert who is neurodivergent, oftentimes I'm in much more comfortable clothing versus the business casual setting, because the clothing fabric and materials oftentimes for business attire like blazers and work shirts can be itchy or otherwise distracting for me. And again, can deter from my ability to perform and give information, especially on things that I am an expert on. Also, encouraging flexibility, casual friendly attitudes and attire. Especially now, we're seeing a divide between what the boomer generation is considering having more of that polished look in leadership versus Gen Z. Especially, we're seeing this in the tech industry, where hoodies and jeans are an appropriate attire for work versus traditional business. And again, generationally, where uh, a dress suit, blazer, and a more polished finish with makeup and whatnot. So again, having that flexibility and making sure to communicate it, but not just communicate it, stick with it. Make sure that it's not just words. This will help you build more collaboration and again, help you better support your teams as a leader. That's all I have for today. Remember, if you like this content, please press that like button and subscribe. And as always, remember, remote work, it's here to stay.